Howdy, 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 folks, and thank you for listening to the Sheriff Cast. A quick word from the horse's mouth on all things Paddy Wagon. Let's keep you in touch with the climate of our company. Why? Well, because you asked for it. Let's keep the communication lines smooth and the gossip to a minimum. And let's wake up every day better than the day before, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. So before we jump in here, I just want to apologize because I know the original intent was for these to be put out on a somewhat weekly basis. And although I do my best not to let my personal life get in the way of my work, some life events definitely came up that set me back a bit. And so I do want you to know that I intend to get these out to you on a consistent basis so we can all stay on the same page. And with that said, this is the second iteration of the Sheriff Cast, and I'll start out by congratulating Chicago Mike, who is in the process of becoming a captain on our team. And Mike, I think I speak for all of us when I say sincerely that we're happy to have you, and I look forward to you growing with the company, growing your knowledge of the company, and hopefully growing everybody's bottom line. I know it's mostly a trial by fire here at the Paddy Wagon. There's really no standard formula for any food truck. It just kind of is the nature of the business. But hopefully some of these resources, the handbooks and the logs and all that, make that process a little easier for you and anyone else who's thinking about taking on a more involved leadership role. And that goes for all of our captains right now, Eddie, Tony, Chicago Mike, and anyone who's in the pipeline looking for that increased responsibility. You know, if you have any questions, any concerns, you can always come to me. The door is always open. My phone is always on and nearby to answer any questions you have. And, 9 out of 10 times, if you're not sure, it's better to ask than it is to guess. In this business. So want to talk a little bit about teamwork, and I just say that I'm really happy. I think that this is one of the best teams we've ever had, if not the best. I love to see you guys working together and playing together and doing it well. Everyone seems to get along, at least right now, and hopefully we can carry that through the entire summer. Even once fatigue starts to set in, and I know things get hot and heated in more ways than one. But, as I mentioned in our physical team meeting a few weeks ago, communication is the key, and, integrity, teamwork, and accountability. Those are the things that are not only going to make us work well as a collective, but those are the things that are going to set us apart as a company. So thank you guys for that. And, if you do have any concerns at all from anything that's happening, you can always bring that to me, talk it over with the captains. Let's work it out, guys. Let's talk it through. That's really important. So now I'm going to get into some of the things, and, these might sound like words from a broken record, but perhaps some folks did not get to hear the first Sheriff Cast. Perhaps old habits die hard. Whatever the case, I got to talk a little bit about temps, guys. Temp logs are not getting done consistently. I look around the shop, the walk-in log, the truck logs, they're just not happening as much as they should. And I know we get busy, we get slammed, especially with the caterings. It's hard to take that step back and make those happen. But, they just have to happen. And the worst case scenario for us is that the inevitable, when an inspection comes and we are not expecting it, and we're not temping properly, and it's something that could have been avoided. And as most of you know, in the conversations that we had, this was a huge problem last year, and it put a lot on the line, and there really are no second chances when it comes to this. It could cost us all quite a bit of grief and a lot of money, and potentially all our jobs. So, 10, noon, and 2, if you're working lunch, take that 45 seconds, and I measured it. It's about 45 seconds to grab temps off of the hot product, off of the cold product, and write those numbers down on that clipboard. Doesn't really matter if you're a captain or not. I do expect my captains to see that those are done, and hopefully you guys are hearing this as well. Anybody, all of us, it's teamwork, and we can't all be on all the time. I understand that. I'm certainly not on all the time. Help out even if you're not in that leadership role. It's a great foot forward. It's just best practices. Temps, guys. Temps. Leads me to the up-and-coming ag inspection at our headquarters at the production kitchen. If you're listening to this prior to Thursday morning, then please know that is on the deck here, and it is inspection time. All hands on deck. We need to have a sterling inspection. It really, really needs to just be seamless for us. They're starting to do these more often, it seems like. I don't know if that's just us or if it's just a increased protocol on their part, but our ag inspector Catherine will be at the shop around 9:45 on Thursday morning. It'll be Thursday the 24th. And please, prior to that, if there's anything that you see, if there's any red flags at all that pop up to you, even if it's in the middle of your shift, stop what you're doing, correct it. If it takes 10 seconds, it'll be worth it. It'll save us a lot of trouble in the long run. So let's all be prepared for that. Clean kitchen, chemicals stored separately, floors are clean, product is dated, nothing in the sinks, soap and hand towels loaded up. That's the important stuff. That's what they're going to be looking for, as well as those temps, guys. Temps. So on to a little bit about the trucks, and I noticed this a couple times recently at some of these caterings. I know the caterings are a little more enjoyable, obviously. That's the direction that I'm trying to push us as a company, and I think the direction that we all want to go. But I noticed that there's a lot of lag at some of these caterings. There's a lot of downtime. And while I know that you don't need to be on your feet doing something every minute, the old mantra, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean, doesn't necessarily apply in these situations. But I will say that, we don't need 4 people just standing around waiting for the next order, because there is going to be some lag in between, especially at some of these grad parties and some of the more casual weddings. So, there's a lot of side work that can happen on the trucks, and that's really what I'd like to see more of. Whether it's, wiping down a sauce rail or, wiping out the cooler, pulling up the mats and running a quick sweep, organizing the dash, organizing the bread rack, organizing the shelving up above, general wipe downs that just never happen. And those are great opportunities to do so. And why not? I mean, a lot of you guys I know are walking away from these shifts with a really nice gratuity that, adds up with your hourly to a prevailing wage. So, why not make the most of that time? And in the long run, it makes everyone's job more comfortable. I sincerely believe that. So, if you are bored and you're at work, I promise you there are things to do. And if you can't figure something out, well, give me a call or hopefully ask one of your captains on duty, and maybe they can point you in the direction of something. And brings me to my next point, which is the napkins. I know that's new and unusual. But we got these self-inking stamps for the napkins. I think it's a great look. I think it impresses people when they get their napkin, and there it is. It just makes us look a little bit more polished than we used to. So I try to keep adding things like that, because I know when I have conversations with you guys outside of work, that's what you're looking for, is that polished professional look. It makes everyone feel good. It brings you pride in your work. And I want that not only for you, but for me and for our customers. So, if you're bored, or before a shift or after a shift, if you find yourself a little light on work, take 5 minutes and stamp 100 napkins. That'll get you through a day probably. And it's well worth the time invested. It's all that branding stuff. The same with the cards, and we now have some fresh cards, and I want to keep making sure that we have fresh cards. Let's try to avoid any double decks. Let's just run a deck through its service life, which is basically when the cards start to look like crap, and then toss them out, grab a new deck. I'd expect any deck to last, about 2 months. And at that point, there'll probably be enough missing cards and enough crappy looking cards that we can go ahead and throw that full deck out and avoid the doubles. Another thing that has been an issue for me, and perhaps you guys feel the same way, in the last few weeks has been overpacking. And I get the sentiment. I understand and appreciate the desire for preparedness. But at the same time, we are working in a very confined space with limited storage and lots of close corners to clean. And so what the result of overpacking is not necessarily preparedness as much as it is clunkiness. And, when there's an entire case of napkins on one truck, or there's 8 boxes of deli papers, or there's 4 things of foil wraps, that's just unnecessary. It's just going to make the truck harder to work in, and it's going to make it 100% harder to clean, because now you have that much more stuff to drag out, which chances are isn't going to happen. So please, let's keep it to the necessities. I certainly don't want to recommend underpacking, but I think that we can all eyeball from the expected order amount. This is how many deli papers I think I'll need. Hey, if I'm doing 150 orders, I'll take 3 packs of napkins. The general rule of thumb, as it is with the food, is to pack for 150% of your expected. That's 150% of your expected. So if you're expecting 100 orders, you have 150 orders worth of food on the truck. You should have 150 orders worth of napkins. You should have 150 orders worth of forks. Unit 3 has about 6 cases of forks on it right now. And I just don't understand. And what ends up happening is over time, they're getting cleaned around and not getting cleaned under, and the boxes disintegrate, and a lot of stuff goes to waste. So let's really try to fight that overpacking, and just bring what we need. Keep the trucks nice and streamlined. It'll be a more comfortable work environment, and it will result in a cleaner truck for sure. Going to kind of close this out on a positive note, hopefully. We are looking at June now, and June is by far the best month of the year to be in a food truck. It's not too hot. The work is plentiful. The tips are plentiful, and lots of cool events and experiences on the forefront for us, guys. We have ComFest, we have Duck Creek, we have tons of catering, and lots of stuff in between. And I look forward to working with you guys through all those experiences, having lots of fun along the way, and really making the most of this summer and showcasing once again that we are the best that Columbus has to offer. So let's keep up the good work, guys. Again, any concerns that you have, bring them to me. I'm sure that I missed something, several things that we could address. And again, I'm just trying to get caught up here myself. So looking forward to the next iteration of Sheriff Cast. Thanks a lot, and keep it legal.